So just to start with a little bit of background about our company, and thank you so much, Brian, for sharing your expertise with us this evening. But to start on the real estate side, we are with MG Residential. We are quite proud that since the start of our company, we've transacted over $1 billion worth of real estate volume, which puts us in the honorary position of being in the top 1% of realtors nationwide. And so locally, that translates into over 3,000 transactions in the Mid-Atlantic region of DC, Virginia, and Maryland. So, and in addition to our residential business, at MG Residential, we also have a commercial arm and a development arm. And what that means is that in addition to residential, we also have the ability to rent commercial spaces and to develop larger properties such as the MLK Gateway, which is happening excitedly in Anacostia, and a number of other projects that we have in Northwest Washington and throughout the city. So we are what would be considered a comprehensive approach to real estate. And this is from our 15 years of experience, which makes us a full service brokerage. We are experts in the local market with hyper-local knowledge, which assists us in providing the best services to our clients in terms of negotiation, pricing. For our sellers, it's a comprehensive marketing strategy, which is both in-person marketing, print, media, and of course, online presence. And then full service brokerage for our buyers as well, which includes full management of buying transactions from the start to the finish. And as we always say, once you close on a home, it's only the beginning of our relationship, because we're then available to help you with virtually anything you need as you enter the path to home ownership, whether that be finding a painter or a plumber or someone else that you may need as you are a homeowner. And why we feel that this is important is that our company, our mission statement is to transform lives, careers, and communities through real estate. And part of that for me has been a very personal journey. I am by background an attorney, and before that worked in international relations. But my journey in real estate started about 20 years ago when I purchased my first property. I was a new graduate from college, paying off a lot of student debt, first-time terrified home buyer. And I, to be honest, was living just barely above the poverty line and managed to save what I could for down payment and bought my first property. But over time, I transitioned into real estate because that one investment that I made was absolutely life-changing. It is something that enabled me to build equity and get into a larger home. And right now is an income property that with time, hopefully down the road, will become a great retirement nest egg. So my journey into real estate has been one that I feel is something I hope I can use to empower other buyers as they move down the path to home ownership, especially first-time home buyers. And when you think about the process of buying a home, it is a multi-step process. And in many cases, that starts with a needs analysis of what does it mean to me? Why am I thinking about buying a home? Does it make sense to rent? Does it make sense to buy? And so working with an agent is a great place to start on that path. In hiring an agent, they can help you look at what your needs are and what is going to make sense in terms of markets that you can purchase in, the type of home that you can buy, and oftentimes the location if you're looking for something that will continue to appreciate, or something that's what we consider, an immediate move-in community with local amenities. And as Brian is here tonight, he will help us with the very important step, which is securing your financing, because that's going to provide a roadmap again for what the most suitable fit for you is in terms of a home. And when we have that established, we'll have a pre-approval and begin to find your actual home. When we talk about the fifth step in finding your home, we can do that in a number of different ways. Usually, as most, we start online. We look at properties that are on the market, and from those, we can narrow down the scope to those that we're going to want to visit in person, and those ultimately that you're going to want to make an offer on your home. When we talk about making an offer, there are a number of steps that are going to be involved in that. And in making an offer, we will have terms that we'll negotiate with the seller. The three primary areas that we should talk about today are going to be your home inspection, your financing, and your appraisal. So the three biggest pieces of the contract, and we can break that down as we continue this evening. When we negotiate that, then the contract is accepted, and most folks think that that's sort of where the process ends in buying a home. But for us as your agent, it's really where the process begins, because that's where we help with everything for the contract to close period, making sure that everything that is supposed to happen actually happens. Few folks know that about 1 in 3 real estate transactions actually falls apart. Our success rate with MG Residential is significantly higher. We have about a 95% success rate, and it's because we spend a lot of time making sure that your contract is airtight, that things are properly scheduled, and then we have an entire team at your disposal, which helps make sure that appraisal is happening, inspection is happening, that everything that needs to be done is indeed checked off your list. After we move through those steps, when you get closer to your closing, we have what's called your final walkthrough. And your final walkthrough usually takes place within about 24 to 48 hours of your settlement date. And the reason we want it in close in time is we want to make sure that everything with that house is in good shape before you take title to that house. And when we talk about taking title, that's what happens on your settlement day. Here's what we have as step 10. That's when you sign your loan documents, your paperwork, and you become the actual legal owner of the home. You get your keys, and then you get to prepare for moving. And then, as I had noted before, that's when we start helping you with other things you might need in terms of finding contacts, movers, anything else you're going to need to make your transition into your new home a complete one. So then we get back to the question I mentioned earlier about your needs analysis. Is it time to rent? Is it time to buy? When we talk about renting and buying, we often ask the question of how long do you intend to stay in your home? As a general rule of thumb, if you are going to be staying in a home for a period of less than 2 or 3 years, renting might be a consideration for you. If you're looking for something that's going to be a bit longer of a period than that, home ownership is a great option to build wealth and to build equity in your home, build stability, and also, quite importantly, to build connections with your community. So we have a breakdown here of what the numbers look like in terms of if you are selling or you have a down payment, what your loan amount is going to look like. And Brian's going to help break all of that down in terms of what it will mean for you as a buyer. And again, when we talk about your decision to buy, as I had noted for myself, it was a deeply personal one. As a single woman at the time, it was something that I felt helped me gain a financial foothold more than any other single investment could at that point in my life. And 20 years later, I think that that is still true. It's something that has helped my personal net worth grow. As you see here, the comparison of your net worth of a renter versus your net worth of a homeowner is significant. And that's because your home, it appreciates over time. It's passive income, passive wealth building that other than occupying the property and your initial purchase of it, you don't have to do much. It's something that, like the stock market, will gain value with time. Whereas when you're talking about rent, in most cases, your rent is an expense that's going to continue to increase over time, whereas your mortgage payment is going to stay consistent. And why that's important is that studies also have shown historically that as you progress down your professional path, your income increases. So if you have a stable expense in your mortgage payment, but your net income increases, you then have additional money to put towards retirement, put towards savings, essentially put anywhere that you deem is going to be a viable investment for you to grow your wealth over time. So again, something when we talk about renting versus buying is an important consideration. When we dig a little bit more into the process of what buying looks like and what your agent can hopefully help do for you, The first and foremost is you have a trained advocate who's going to be through your side during the entire process of the home buying. It can be very difficult, especially in a market such as this, to know what are the best deals, what are the best neighborhoods to look at, and what does a competitive offer look like? If you're writing an offer and there are 4 or 5 other parties that are interested in that home too, what is it that you as the buyer can do to set yourself apart? And that's what a good agent is going to do for you. So first of all, they're going to help you get your offer to the table in front of the seller. And then they're going to help you negotiate that offer, find the best deal for you. They know what to look for in the paperwork to make sure that everything is being addressed and is complete. And also over time, that's going to be a better result for you as a buyer. A lot of folks also think that, you know, if I'm looking in Maryland, looking Virginia, there's a lot of new construction, maybe something there might be a better fit, don't need a resale property, and perhaps may not even need an agent. New construction properties are fantastic options in competitive markets such as this, but they are not without their challenges. And I note this having helped a lot of first-time home buyers into new construction homes this last year. As I'm sure you followed in the news, lumber prices have gone up, construction costs have gone up. And so what does that mean for you as a buyer? It means that new construction can also be tricky. And we're going to want to have an agent by your side who can let you know this is something you want to pay attention to in the contract. And I point that out because I have seen other people forced out of contracts with new home builds because they didn't have escape clauses that were suitable in the contract and would have been faced with other costs. So again, with either resale properties or new construction, having a trained advocate on your side is something that's going to help put you ahead in the process. So again, some of the things that we do to help our clients, first and foremost, educate you about the market. What does it look like? What are we seeing? What are the trends? Is this a good time to buy? Is it something that I might want to think, gosh, maybe I want to wait a couple of months and see what the market is going to look like down the road? We're going to look at what your needs are. Do you need more space? Is this something where you want to move into a neighborhood that could become a great investment because there's new development coming, but not yet there, but again, with time is going to appreciate more than what we would consider a more established neighborhood? We're going to help you find all those homes that based on your needs are going to fit your boxes, the check marks that you need to make happen in your next home. We'll do a competitive analysis. And what this means is that we're going to look at other properties on the market to make sure that you're not overpaying for a home that is going to be the one that suits your needs. So competitive analysis is going to take a very in-depth look at what other sales are doing. We're also going to help you identify their special programs, first-time homebuyer programs, certain employment programs. What are those things that can help you get specialized foothold in the market and, again, have the best terms for you financially? And then we're going to be essentially at the forefront of your team in developing who are those getting to work for you? Who's the title company? Who's the appraiser? Who are all the people that are going to take care of those tasks that you need as you move forward in the home buying process? And then again, negotiating and managing that contract as we move forward in the contract to close period towards your settlement date. So when we talk about mortgage and title, again, as Brian's going to break down the importance of pre-qualifying. Pre-qualifying in this market is what a lender is going to help you do. They're going to look at your assets and your income, any encumbrances that you may have, and decide what the most appropriate price point in the market is for you. It's important because most sellers, in order to see homes, will require a letter. If you didn't have one and you find a home that you like, but you're not pre-approved, chances are in a competitive market, by the time that work is done to get your letter pre-approved, the house is going to be gone. It's a quick moving market. So it's ideal in this case to have your pre-qualification ready to go when you're ready to start looking. A couple of other things to consider and keep in mind, again, as you move down the path towards home ownership, is you want to make sure that you're watching your credit. You want to make sure you're watching your finances. You're saving what you can in order to establish the most solid financial picture that you can put forward. And hand in hand with that are things not only what to do, but other things of what not to do. First and foremost, no large purchases. We often get folks who are really excited, they found their dream home, they want to go buy a car because it's further away, or they want to buy that furniture that's going to look great in their new condo or new house. Those are things that can interrupt what your financial picture looks like. They are no-nos at the point in time until you actually sign your settlement papers. Changes to employment are also another thing. You want to make sure that if you're in the market to buy a home, you want to keep that employment picture as consistent as possible. So when we start your home search, we have a great tool for you through our company website, mgresidential.com. We pull properties that are on the multiple listing service, which is the most comprehensive realtor tool out there that targets all of the most current properties on the market. Lets us know as soon as something has listed, as soon as there's an open house, and as soon as there's an offer deadline on the house, if it's a property that you find is interesting. When we find the homes that you like, we source them online, then we'll talk about what the best way is to start showing you those homes. Some folks like to explore neighborhoods on their own and go through open houses. Others prefer private showings, which we can set up and go together so that I can point things out as we walk through the home, things to be considerate of. Is it look like the roof is perhaps a little bit older, or are there certain appliances that might be older as well? And then when we find the one, we'll talk about the steps again that are going to be involved with making an offer on your home. When we find the one, we're going to have what is called a ratified contract. What that means is that there is a contract that both the buyer and the seller have agreed upon. We'll have the property inspected by a professional to make sure that the home you are purchasing is sound and that there are ideally no hidden surprises with the home. Again, water heaters, electricity, plumbing, everything is going to be checked the home from top to bottom. And then when that is complete, we'll start moving forward with your financing and your appraisal process. Appraisal is done by an independent party to make sure that the value of the home is what the market is demanding and saying that the value of the home should be. It's done in part to help protect the bank to make sure that they're making a good investment in your loan. If you are purchasing a home at $515,000, but everyone else on the block is around $500,000, it's not going to be a good investment for either you or for the bank in your loan. So an appraisal is going to point those things out. The value on your home comes back correct on your appraisal, then that is part of the overall financing approval. Again, it's done by your lender. You're going to take a look at your employment, your expenses, everything with that financial picture of yours to approve your loan and move forward with the process. An option as well at that point is whether or not a homeowner's insurance policy is going to be the right fit for you. Homeowner's insurance is going to protect you exclusively for your home and as you own it, but there is also a secondary policy that is going to protect the things in your home. And the second things in your home, we're talking about a home protection policy that's going to cover water heaters, heating systems, electrical, ceiling fans, those types of things that might fail. Your homeowner's insurance policy are going to be those items that are going to be covered in terms of if there's a fire, a flood, something else that's going to protect you as a homeowner in the process, as well as the bank and the investment that they've made in your loan. And so when we've completed those phases, we're very close to settlement. We'll conduct your walkthrough to make sure that if there are any repairs that were completed by the seller, that they were done properly and on time. We'll talk through your loan documents. We'll talk through your title documents. Your closing attorney is going to point out the meaning of each of the documents that you're signing. And then as you complete that process, you will be considered a new homeowner and you'll get your keys. For a lot of our buyers who are looking to purchase, the majority are moving in as a homeowner. They're looking for their primary resident. But there are others that might be looking to purchase an investment property, something that with time they can rent out, build equity, and then down the road sell. So we also offer full service amenities for those buyers who are looking for something that's a little bit different than their primary residence. It can include property management service. So checking out the home that you're buying, making sure if you have a tenant, that they're paying on time. We screen them, find the right people that are going to be a good fit for you as a landlord. We can also help identify investment properties if you're looking for something that is perhaps a buy, renovate, and sell property, or again, if you're looking for something that's a commercial product where you can have a commercial tenant storefront, or again, a development project. So full service brokerage, we are at the ready to help with any of what your needs might be on that front. So contact information for myself. And with that, I will go ahead and turn things over to Brian. Brian, thank you so much for being here again tonight. I know most of the questions in this process have little less to do with the home search part, but more about what is a buyer might able to afford? What is that process going to look like for me as I get started? So thank you again so much for being here to help go through those.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me. And let's applaud all these people who came. So, because you could have been doing many other things like, well, I guess, but yard work on this hot summer day, or just enjoying and relaxing. Well, somebody is enjoying themselves and relaxing out there. That's right. Tangina, it's like you're having a good time. We should be out there doing the seminar. That's awesome. So again, thanks a lot, Jennifer. A lot of great information. I'm going to try to share my screen. Okay. So in case, first of all, my name is Brian Washington with Prime Lending. And Prime Lending is a direct lender. So it means we're owned by a depository organization that is insured by the federal government. So FDIC insured bank. So we're based out of Dallas, Texas, but my office is in Greenbelt, Maryland. And just to give you a little bit of our history, if you will, or this past history's performance, last year we did about 25 billion, about 45,000 transactions. So that puts us in the top 1%. And myself, I've been in the mortgage business for close to 20 years. And prior to that, I was doing loans and investments. So I bring all that experience to the table for you when we're trying to set you up to go out and purchase some real estate. And like Jennifer said, building wealth and increasing net worth. So if you don't have anything to write with, which I'm sure the teachers have something to write with, I would grab something so that way you can take some notes. And if you have questions for Jennifer or I, you'll have that ready, and you shoot it to us at the end, okay? So it's all about unlocking the door to independence, right? And that's what ultimately home ownership is going to do for us. Owning a home, comes with a lot of benefits compared to renting, and we're going to talk about the dollars and cents to that as well. What I like most about the home ownership piece, and especially for you all who are educators, one of the studies shows that when a child has a stable home environment and actually home ownership, they actually have higher overall test scores, which I thought was very, very interesting. So I'm glad that you all on the phone and looking to, be part of that, American dream of owning your own home. The other thing I think that renting or home ownership does, of course, is giving you what? Give you some privacy. Your neighbors don't switch as much, and you don't necessarily have to always smell what your neighbor is cooking. Another reason you start renting, a monthly mortgage usually has less than monthly rental rates. I've had a couple clients recently close where their mortgage payment, believe it or not, in this market, their mortgage payment is actually less than their rent, okay? And I had to double take myself, so I was really, really happy, for the clients that were able to do that. So it's not all the time that your rent is here and then your mortgage is up here. And even if it is, it's still going to benefit overall. We'll talk more about that. We already talked about the building the equity, which was the second item on that checklist. Interest paid on a mortgage is typically tax deductible, and owning means making your own rules. So if you want to paint that wall, whatever you want to paint it, of course you can have at it. Where do I begin? Of course, that's why you're on the phone. You're seeking knowledge, or you're on this Zoom call, you're seeking knowledge. So you're in the right place at the right time. And ultimately, we really want to get you one-on-one so that we can tailor make this whole process to meet your needs. And that's what it's really all about. This is good for general information, but ultimately we have to sit down with you via Zoom call, WebEx, get down with you one-on-one, and let's talk about what are your needs. And then we can tailor make the product, mortgage product, and of course, your home search just for you. Of course, you got to find the right real estate agent. Again, Jennifer and her team are a great organization. And herself, I mean, how many people would want an attorney with them going out to find a new home? I know I would. So you've got 2 in 1, an attorney who's also a real estate agent and is taking the time and cares about your home ownership process. How do you qualify? So just at a high level, we're gonna look at your income. I always tell persons in the room, even if a person's self-employed, self-employed persons are always welcome. Of course, especially you as teachers with your income, we have great ways to get you pre-approved and qualified and comfortable when you go out, searching for your home. Current debts. Many of my teacher clients they're concerned about student loan debt. We know it costs a lot of money to become a teacher through your college education, your certifications, et cetera, et cetera. So God bless you for all that you do to help our futures in our country to be even better. But I'll tell you a couple of different things. One of the things you can do is get something called an income-based repayment plan for your student loans. So again, if you have student loan debt, considerable amount, you can get something called an income-based repayment plan if you haven't done that already. You just call up your student loan servicer and let them know you're interested in that, and your monthly payment will drop. So you may also be thinking, what about the fact that we're not collecting payments right now as if you have student loan debt? Well, we look at either 1% or 0.5% of that, and we count that towards your debt to income ratio, which bites into your buying power. So, the best option is if we can get you set up with an income-based repayment plan. I had a client where she had over $450,000 in student loan debt, and she was a teacher, and we were able to get that program, an income-based repayment program, set up with her, and we were able to get her into her home in Washington, D.C., by the way. Credit history is important. Credit scores, I'll just tell you quickly, we're looking for just to purchase a home with us, a 620 credit score. And if we pull your credit and you're not there, we actually have the tools where we can coach you and get your credit score up. So we'll give you an idea through our third-party software called Credit Expert. We'll say, okay, do this, this, and this. And by this time, your credit score should be up if we have that. And sometimes I'm actually helping clients improve their credit score from, let's say, a 700 to a 720 or 720 to 740, just to get a better overall interest rate, better private mortgage insurance, premiums, et cetera. Cash available. So of course, even if we have down payment assistance programs or other creative ways to help you close out the transaction, you are going to need some of your own money into this transaction. So keep that in mind. Some of the key ways, of course, are your own savings. Sometimes you can take from a teacher's 403B plan, okay, but you usually cannot take it from a state or a city funded pension plan. So just keep that in mind. And most importantly, gifts from relatives. And my favorite one, gifts from relatives. All right. So talk to me about how we set that up so we can help you take possession of that the right way. Question most people want to know, do I still need 20% down, even though we've had this roller coaster ride in the real estate industry, et cetera? The answer is absolutely not. We have down payment assistance, which I just mentioned. You may be able to buy a home with little or no money down payment required. Sometimes we have persons who are in the audience who are actually veterans or married to a veteran, and they forgot. VA has something called 100% financing, or you're moving into a rural area where we do a USDA loan, so 100% financing. And with the programs, it sometimes ends up being 100% financing. Loans with 20% or less down, with less than a 20% down payment, have something you have to pay called mortgage insurance. What are the closing costs? On the left-hand side, you got some lender's fees there, third-party fees or taxes, attorney and appraisal fees, and the prepaid expenses or taxes, interest, and homeowners insurance. Generally speaking, if you want to write this down, I always say budget 4 to 4.5% of the sales price of the home that you're looking at. That's what your closing costs are going to equate to. How does my credit factor into the loan? I kind of talked about that, but most importantly, again, it's interest rate. But here's the good news. If we're using a down payment assistance program, for example, with the Maryland Mortgage Program or DC Open Doors, okay, those interest rates are locked in. The minimum credit score with those programs are at least a 640 credit score. 660 is the sweet spot, but at least 640, okay, minimum credit score for the Maryland Mortgage Program and DC Open Doors. I just mentioned those two since those are very, very popular for the clients that come to our seminars. Now, of course, your loan amount is also going to be part of one of the major factors when it comes to how your credit score is going to impact the overall loan process. What consists of a mortgage payment? When I hear this and I see this slide, I'm always reminded of clients looking at loan payments online. So I'll say this, don't look at your loan payments online. Real estate agents cannot stand, for the most part, Zillow when it comes to determining what's their home worth. Okay, many sellers say, I've looked on Zillow and my home is worth X. Okay, and at that point, mentally, the real estate agent is pulling out their hair if they have any. Okay, as it relates to us as mortgage professionals, we hear, well, the payment I saw online was X, and it's usually never accurate. So now that you're on this call, now that you're with us in this space, we're going to be accountable to you. We can work with you and help you know, here's what your payment's going to be in real time for your particular scenario. Like I said earlier, it's going to be tailor-made for you. But ultimately, principal and interest is part of that. Taxes and insurance and mortgage insurance and HOA can be part of that. What is an APR? And what's the difference between that and an interest rate? Ultimately, the interest rate is the note rate and your loan amount. Okay, the interest rate is really the fee that we charge for borrowing X amount of dollars. And your percentage rate are other fees annualized over the life of the loan. That's what makes up an APR. Right? And we talk more about that. That includes your interest rate, points, lender fees, some title charges, believe it or not, from the title company, i.e. attorney's office. And usually, again, it's going to be higher than the overall interest rate. We talked a little bit about this earlier, the difference between pre-qual and pre-approval, but I'll just say this in layman's terms, pre-qualification for all intents and purposes is not what we want to do for you. We want to do a pre-approval. And because the sellers are looking for people who have committed themselves to this process, who have turned in their financials, income, their assets, i.e. the bank statements, 403B accounts, etc., turn that into the loan officer. And we have calculated your income properly and told you, here's your maximum amount that you are approved for. And most of them, okay, they really want to know, have you gone over the numbers with the client? Okay, that's what they really want to know. And that's what we would do in our pre-approval meeting. So if nothing else, if you don't remember anything else, the whole goal for us is to meet here in this room. And then we really want to set up that one-on-one. That's after you do your application, and then you turn in your documentation, and then we go over numbers just for you. And we'll share screens, we'll go over numbers, and you'll get comfortable with, okay, this is how this all works, and this is how it comes together. And we'll share a little bit of that about that today, a little bit of that later on in this presentation. So, but here are some of the things that we're looking at, because we're going to ultimately run you through what we call desktop underwriting, okay? Desktop underwriting. Conventional financing, these are the interest rates you see on the internet, et cetera. Basic lending. You can have a down payment as little as 3% on a loan for $822,375. You can be, you have first-time home buyer options with this loan process, with up to this loan amount, the $822,375. And like I talked about earlier, gifts from relatives. We even have clients that use what we call savings plans, okay, to help them set up themselves for buying a new home. Okay, and that's one of those things we can talk about offline. I don't have any access to any of them, but there are people who are part of savings plans and they're not sure if you can use that money for down payment and closing costs. The answer is absolutely. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, who fund approximately 75% of all loans. They give us money to give to you to go buy a home. They know about savings plans. They support savings plans and savings clubs, et cetera, to help people, buy their new home. If you have an FHA loan, which is a different type of loan than conventional, it's backed by the Federal Housing Administration, federal government, and it was started years ago to help bring the United States economy out of the Great Depression. And one of the biggest stoppers for people from buying a home was down payment. That was the 20%. So on a $500,000 home, you would need at least $100,000 in the old days, plus your closing costs. Okay, so $100,000 plus your closing costs. So that'll be about $120,000, $125,000. Okay, with things like FHA and the 3% down, we don't need that anymore. So in this case, you can do a 3.5% down payment and buy a home when the loan and your loan amount could be $822,000, $22,000. And look at that, a 2-unit building can be 1.053 million, 3-unit building 1.27 million, and 4-unit building can be 1.5 million. So we can finance you up to 4 units and get you up to 1.5 million, and you're putting down 3.5%. Okay. VA, we talked about that. That's for our veterans. So if you are in the audience, thank you for your service. And we'll do jumbo loans. Any loan over 822,375 usually. Okay. We consider that a jumbo. We can go all the way up to 3 million, down payments as low as 5%. And 99% of the time, any loan that I discuss with you, especially if you're on this call, we're doing 30-year fixed. We also do renovation loans. So if that home is not in perfect condition, we can give you money to buy the home and give you money to fix up the home, just like on HGTV. It will be one loan, one closing. The only caveat, we cannot use it if you decide you're going to purchase a home and use down payment assistance. That's the only caveat. And of course, there's always an exception to the rule. And the one exception is with HPAP. That is a program out of Washington, D.C. if you're buying in Washington, D.C. They allow you to do about a $35,000 renovation. All right, your path to home ownership. Again, it's all about having the one-on-one conversation, okay? And what we discuss will be totally for you from beginning to end. I'm going to share my screen and show you some numbers. Very quick. Here's my contact information. I'm in Greenbelt, Maryland. Prime Lending has about 300 locations across the country, but I'm in the Greenbelt office. So I know and love the area, and I'm always here and available to help. So that's my information, and we'll make sure you get that later as well. Can you all see my screen? I just switched and brought over some numbers. Can you see that? Can you get, yep, excellent. Okay, so I'll send this to you. All you have to do is just send me an email. Just send me an email saying, hey, can you send me that chart? Okay, and I'll send this right over to you. So this will be tailor-made for you at the appropriate time. Hopefully you can see all the numbers, but what you have here, ultimately up top, we just use the example of a $500,000 purchase price. We have clients that are purchasing above this number and below this number, but we just thought we'd just use a $500,000 today. What you have, just so you see, this is Washington, D.C., the D.C. Open Doors program. Then you have the Maryland mortgage program, okay? And then you have DC not having any down payment assistance at all. And in Maryland, solo means no down payment assistance, okay? Just to acclimate you, right here, look at the down payment across the board. So if you use the DC Open Doors program, there's no down payment. And if you're using the Maryland mortgage program, the down payment is, in this case, $450 on a $500,000 property. So that's pretty good, right? Yes, good. All right, now, yeah, sorry, sometimes I'm like a Baptist preacher. I need to hear feedback. I apologize. So you got the DC Open Doors program with DC Solo. That's your 3% down. There's your 3% down as well, okay? Then your loan amounts are down here at the bottom. Then you have the blended interest rate. So what this basically is telling you is we're giving you an interest rate that there's no interest rate on the second mortgage, because down payment assistance is all about giving you money to come up with a down payment. So remember earlier we said $500,000, 20% down, that's over 100,000. But if you drop down here at the bottom, your cash to close, okay, because of the programs, you have to come up with 24,000. Now you compare that to DC by yourself, now you have to bring over 34,000. If you are in Maryland using the down payment assistance program, it's $20,000 versus $34,000 in Maryland, okay? If I hit more info right there, it gives you some more details about the product. Remember, we talked about the monthly payment breakdowns, et cetera. Where here it is, line by line, principal and interest for a $500,000 property. Let's just focus in on Maryland, $22.80 per month. Then you have property taxes, and you have property insurance, and then you have your mortgage insurance. That's because you're not putting down 20%, and then your grand total payment is $3,072. Again, just really right now, just an example. Okay. The only thing you want to notice over here, the taxes and insurance are the same, roughly the same. And when you use the Maryland Mortgage Program, you get a slight discount, and then the payment is not that different, but it is different. And then your payment is about $29.43. Okay. Closing cost tab, and I'm showing you this because, again, I can send this to you. You can kind of pluck through it yourself, and you can set up a meeting and go over it, tailor it for yourself. And you've got this fee detail, and that opens up the line by line so you can see all your closing costs. All that's in there. Okay, and I'm going to speed through this so we have time for questions. Then here is the Maryland Mortgage Program. So you see here, your first mortgage is $485,000. The Maryland Mortgage Program is giving you $14,550. That's why you only have to bring the $20,000 versus the $34,000. Everyone see that? Okay, so again, it's $20,000 versus $34,000. So that's how the Maryland Mortgage Program is helping you. So the question is, well, wait a minute, there's no interest rate, there's no payment. Okay, so how do they get their money back? There's 4 different ways. The first way they get their money back is if you decide you're going to sell the property. If you decide to sell, the first mortgage will be paid off and the Maryland Mortgage Program will be paid off. The second way, if you decide you're going to refinance, and I have lots of clients who've closed with me in the past that call me and say, hey, interest rates are lower, I would like to lower my interest rate. Okay, so we would pay off the $485,000 plus the $14,000. The third way is if you decide you're going to move out of the property and rent it out to someone else. The Maryland Mortgage Program, they want their $14,000 back. Usually I'll refinance the client in that case too. And then the fourth way is once 30 years have passed, okay? So you paid off your first mortgage by then, hopefully, and then the Maryland Mortgage Program, they want their money. So there's no forgiveness in them giving money, and that's across the board now. So all of these home buying agencies, they do want their money back. And that's not a bad thing, okay? Because let's go back to what Jennifer said earlier, net worth. So let's do over here on the right-hand side, there's a quick analysis over 60 months. Here's what happens in Maryland after 5 years. After 5 years, you would have had $170,000 in equity. That's assuming a 4% appreciation on your property, okay? A 4%. So we're thinking the value would be $608,000 and the loan balance would be $437,000 and your equity at that point would be $170,000. Look what happens over here, rent. If you're renting, you just paid out $126,000. Then look at a 15-year analysis. At the end of 15 years, you have close to $600,000 in equity. And we're assuming the value would be at that time $700,000. I'm sorry, $900,000. Okay, and the loan balance would be about $310,000. And that's what Jennifer was talking about earlier, making a difference in your net worth and helping you even retire differently. Okay, one more, nest egg, one more part of your nest egg for retirement, so it can be comfortable. All those years of teaching, dealing with, now you got masks in the classroom, you've got, got to wear masks with the kids, and oh my gosh, God bless you. The grading, the parents, and the Zooms, wow. So the least you can do, of course, is have that nest egg sitting there waiting for you at the end of 15 years. Okay, so I'll stop right there and see if you have any questions. And Jennifer, if you think I need to bring out anything, please jump in and let me know.
No, thank you, Brian. I really appreciate you going through everything so thoroughly. And I think it's incredibly helpful as you've broken down the numbers to show what the difference is over time and what your value is. And, as I always tell folks with the rent versus buy, you're either paying your mortgage or you're paying someone else's.
That's absolutely correct.
To live. So if you make the step to buy, although the first step can feel like the scariest, once you are in home ownership, everything moves forward on track, and you have an asset where your money is going to be working for you month after month, year after year. And the market does continue to grow in value. If you look historically at where home values are, there are, of course, always small dips and rises, but over time, it will appreciate. And again, that's something that you have for you and your families to put towards your retirements. And it's a very powerful thing. So I went through a lot of information very quickly earlier. So I'm happy to take questions if anyone wanted to put them in the chat, or if you want to schedule a one-on-one, as Brian had said, it can be very helpful to sort of take things to a deeper dive with you individually. We would be very happy to do that.
So Sherelle, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So what city are you looking to live in?
So I'm looking for Prince George's County.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of wide open. I live in Greenbelt, by the way.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
over.
So I lived here so we have gone through the process where we did get a pre-approval letter. My husband is a disabled vet, so we did have the no down payment, and we've put offers last summer, I want to say, before we decided to take a break. We put offers in on at least 5 different houses, but I think there were just so many buyers that each house that we put an offer on, they probably had 10 other offers, and we just never were chosen. So I think I'm looking to see maybe on the teacher side if we can have an in that could be a little different. I hear that the veterans program is the best for getting in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tell you, there's so much meat on that bone right there. I would love to tack it. So the first thing I would say, again, first of all, thank you to you and your husband for his service in the military. Huge sacrifice. That says a lot. I think, honestly, it might be a good idea to let's talk. The 3 of us can get on the phone and talk, or the 4 of us can get on the phone and talk. So at least you, Jennifer, myself, or you, including your husband, let's have a conversation to talk about how you approached this last year, and perhaps you hire us as your transaction team. Because I'll be honest with you, Sherelle, sometimes it is about how you approach the sellers. Okay. I mean, it is so
Absolutely.
So
and I would echo Brian's thanks to both you and to your husband, educator. My mother was a teacher for 40-some years, and so I have a very soft place in my heart for educators. My father was military as well, so thank you to both of you. I understand and share your frustration with where the market is. It has been a very tough time for buyers. With regard to the VA loan that you were considering, they're excellent products. I think by many listing agents, they can also be grossly misunderstood products. And so I think it's helpful for your agent to be able to break down the program for the listing agent so that they understand the loan and the power of the loan, and that it is one of the best products out there. So I think there's for one, the education piece.
Mhm.
There can be other things that we can talk about to be a little bit more creative with your offer to make it stand out. So that's something, if you wanted to share the terms of your offer and where things were, we can analyze those, break them down, and then hopefully, come up with a successful path for you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I would definitely like to schedule a time for all of us to sit down, and my husband included. He's keeping the kids quiet right now. But that would be great.
Yes, let's do it. Let's make it happen. And my wife's a teacher as well, and ex-military. So,
Oh.
and the list goes on. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I would love to be able to help you. I'm excited already. That's great.
Great.
And I would also think about your maximum monthly payment that you all are willing to afford yourself. That's another thing I would think about.
Okay. Yeah, so from what we had before, it was I think we had it's definitely our first home, but it was maybe a 2.8 interest rate,
Mhm.
which I think is pretty good. And the monthly payments for the houses that we were choosing, it was all working good, but it was just getting into a house. It was just we just never, and it was the second go around. I think maybe before we had tried, but we just multiple. I think we didn't have enough for closing costs. I think that was the first issue we ran into with the closing costs, and we just didn't have enough. So we saved up, and then last summer we jumped back in, and then our offer wasn't good enough. So we're definitely, it's been another year, so we definitely want to make it happen this time.
All right, let's do it. We'll fix it.
Okay.
Let's do it. And we'll talk about strategies for you to make your offer attractive. I actually closed a VA loan today. I've got another one under contract. So, I know a lot of folks that sort of stand off a little bit, but there's definitely ways to get your offer to stand out and be the one on top.
Okay. Sounds great.
Okay. All right, Jennifer, can we get out of class early?
Absolutely. We'll make it starting Friday early, right?
Yep.
Almost. Halfway through the week. But yes, thank you everyone so much for your time this evening. Brian, incredibly grateful to you for breaking things down in such a comprehensive and thorough manner. Really helpful to see the numbers and how they all work together. Sherelle, thank you for joining us and for sharing your experience with us. We're really grateful to have you and all of our guests this evening. So again, our contact information is in the slides. I think we've got Brian there as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us directly.
Okay, great.
And,
Thank you all for a wonderful
All right.
presentation. I really enjoyed your flow chart.
Well, thanks so much, everyone. I hope you have a great evening.
take care.